Hello, Ashaya, my daughter, my friend in the room, my princess, my baby girl. I want to talk to you about something that you've been thinking about anyway, because you're getting older now. And it's the subject of dating. And because that's such an important subject, you need to know what the Bible says about it. Well, actually, you'd be surprised to know that the Bible has nothing to say about dating. Why? It's because dating's a relatively new concept. Dating's happened about 100 years ago. People started dating about the time cars came out. When people started driving cars, they started dating. And so because it's such a new concept, the Bible doesn't address it any more than it addresses Netflix or Instagram or anything like that, just because it's new. But the Bible does have a lot to say about romance and marriage and sex and decision making. And Mom and I want you to be ready for dating. We're supportive, we want the best experience for you. And so you need to ask yourself, am I ready to date? And I'm not talking about by the world standards, because the world says, hey, if you're available, you're ready. Just got to be available. But you can't approach it that way, because you're dealing with people's hearts. And that you could break people's hearts, you could hurt people. And so that's selfish and unloving to take that approach. So within the next 10 years, you're going to be making the second most important decision of your life. The first most important decision is following Jesus. The second most important decision is who you're going to marry. You're going to be making a lot of decisions within the next 10 years. Like you're going to decide whether to move out. You're going to decide whether you're going to go to college, or what college you're going to go to. You're going to decide where you're going to work, what kind of job you're going to have. But those kind of decisions, if you decide to move out and you decide, hey, that was a bad decision because it cost me too much, you can always move back in. If you go to college, you don't like that decision, you can switch colleges, or you can just drop out. If you get a job, you don't like the job, you don't like the decision you made, you can just change jobs. But marriage is such an important decision in your life. To undo that decision is very, very costly. It could damage your heart and destroy a lot of things in your life. So, within the next 10 years, you are going to be making a decision. You're going to be picking your family. A lot of people say, well, you can't pick your family. You're just born into a family. But you are going to be picking your family, your future family. You're going to be picking who is going to be the father of your children. You're going to be picking the guy that you're going to spend more time with than any other person on the planet. So you need to make sure that you're ready so that you can have the best experience possible. 1 Corinthians chapter 7, verse 35, somewhere around there, Paul talks about being single, and he says that he's single, and he calls singleness a gift. And he said, this is my gift, and this is your gift if you're single. And a lot of people are like, man, if that's a gift, tell me where I can take it back, because I want to make an exchange. I don't like being single. But singleness is a gift, and here's why Paul says that it's a gift. It's an amazing time in your life. It's just a short season. It doesn't last very long, but it's your time to prepare yourself for the best marriage that you can ever have, the best marriage ever. Because you don't have kids crying and screaming and, they want a Judah and a Josiah are hollering and pulling at your legs and I want breakfast, I want you to give me a milk or give me a Capri Sun or something like that. You don't have Justice screaming her head off because she lost her binky, or something like that. This is your time. You have more disposable time than any other time in your life. It's a short season. And what I mean by disposable time is you have less demands on your time. You can spend it any way you want. This is your season to go on mission trips if you want, and Mom and I will fund them. We will do anything. We will pay for anything that helps you deepen your relationship with the Lord so that you can build the character that you need to have a marriage that will last. Anything that will build your character, spend your weekend serving somewhere. Now is your time to grow so that your marriage will be the best that it could ever be. You're going to have a relationship with a guy, and it will never be right until your relationship with God's right. And the reason why is because this is your time to deal with all the toxic things in your life. Like if you have any hurts in your heart, if you're carrying around any bitterness, believe me, you're not ready to date. You're not ready to date if you're carrying bitterness because you don't want to take that bitterness into a relationship. If you're flexing the muscle of unforgiveness in your life, it will grow, it will get stronger, and when you step into marriage, it will destroy your marriage. If you have other toxic habits like you hold things in, you don't have people in your life that you can open up to. That's why we encouraged you to talk to Susan. But you need other people in your life. You need Christians into your life that are speaking into your life, because here's what you need to know. If you have any struggles in your life right now, they won't magically disappear when you get married. They'll actually get worse because now you have all these struggles and these toxic habits in your life, but you're inviting a guy into those toxic habits. And it's not going to go well. So if you don't use this time in your life to prepare yourself for marriage, then guess what? You won't be prepared. You will not be prepared. Like when you go to a volleyball game, you don't say, I'm just going to decide to win. I'm not going to go to any practices. I just decide, I'm making a decision that I'm going to win the game. No, you go to the practices, you practice, you prepare yourself. You don't find your teammates and say, let's all get together and let's make a pact. Let's make a decision. Let's make a vow, a promise to each other. Let's promise that we're going to win every game. No, what you do is you go and you prepare. You prepare. And the reason why you prepare is because you can make all the promises you want, but promises are empty without preparation. Well, when you say I do, that's a promise, that's a vow. But it's an empty promise if you don't have the ability to make it work. So right now is your time to check your priorities. If you were to sit down and make a list of what you want in a guy, what you want in your man that you're going to marry, you might say, well, I want him to be smart. That'd be the first thing on my list. I want him to be smart because I want him to be able to solve problems, Or I want him to be 6'2". I want him to be tall because I'm kind of short and I like to wear my heels. Or I want him to be blonde because I have dark skin and I think we would accentuate each other really nicely, if he's blonde. Or I want the kind of guy that is the go with the flow kind of guy because I'm kind of reserved and I think it would give a good balance to our relationship. So you might have all those things on your list, but I want to encourage you to make your top priorities be the right priorities. Because I'm an old man. You know that. You're always calling me old. And I have never heard of a divorce because the guy wasn't smart, or because the guy wasn't tall enough, or he wasn't blonde enough, or he wasn't the go with the flow kind of guy. I've never heard of a relationship falling apart because he wasn't outgoing enough, if that's the stuff on your list. But I have seen way too many times marriages, covenants broken, marriages falling apart because he was selfish. And I don't want that for you. So, I'm going to turn this around here. All right. This is not dateable and dateable. We're going to decide whether you're ready to date. If on your list you say, well, I want the guy to be hot. He's got to be hot. Girl, I'm telling you right now, you are not dateable. I mean, Mom and I love you. We're glad that you're our daughter. But you need to spend more time with Jesus because you're just not ready to date. If you say, well, he's got to have a lot of money, you're not ready to date. If you say, well, I want him to be funny, no, you're not ready to date. If you say, well, he has to have a nice car, no, you're not ready. Oh, he needs to be outgoing. No, you're not ready. You're just not dateable. So what do I have to be dateable? If you're the type of person that says, okay, this is what I'm looking for in a guy. I want a guy who loves Jesus first. Jesus is his first love. I want a guy who either goes to church or in some way is connected to a group of people who can speak into his life and help him grow in character. I want a guy who's teachable. I want a guy who's humble. I want a guy who has strong character. I want a guy who values marriage. A marriage that lasts. Those are the kind of things that if he listens and obeys those kind of things, then he's also going to be the kind of guy that listens to the other commands of Scripture on how to raise babies, and how to love his wife like Christ loves the church. And so that's really important. Proverbs chapter 12. Proverbs is the wisdom book. And Proverbs chapter 12 says, if you find a partner that has strong character, it's a prized possession. But without character, it will rot you from the inside. That means you'll be dying on the inside. That's pretty important that you be careful what kind of person that you go after, what kind of person you date, what kind of person you marry. Don't prioritize the outside over the inside because, listen, the outside is not sticking around. 20 years from now, that hair that's on the top of their head will drop down somewhere. 20 years from now, you will have stretch marks. You will have wrinkles. All that beauty that you have is going away, girl. But what's on the inside of you, what's on the inside of him is here to stay. You need a guy who knows how to love you like Ephesians chapter 5 says, like Christ loves the church and gives himself for it. If he's not a believer, your dreams of a beautiful life together, of a nice house and little babies, is a deception. Your dreams are a deception because you'll be dying on the inside. And what does it take to fall in love with an unbeliever? The only thing it takes for two people, two human beings to fall in love with each other is they both have to be breathing. Period. That's all it takes. That's all it takes to fall in love with somebody, is they're both breathing. So you're not looking for what causes you to fall in love. You're looking for what causes you to stay in love. Staying in love is much harder. They've got to put Jesus first. They've got to make Jesus their first love. Or you don't have anything else that'll hold you together. So this is your time in your life to have Christians speaking into your life, to have a support system. And I'm not talking about a support system where somebody's supporting you in a toxic relationship that you have because they just don't want to make you feel bad and they don't want to hurt your feelings by telling you that you're in a toxic relationship. And that's not a true loving support. You need people who can speak the truth into you regardless of how it makes you feel. They love you enough to tell you, hey girl, that relationship that you're in is toxic. You need to get out of it. You know, Proverbs 24:6, the wisdom chapter, says good advice is what makes you successful. Good advice is what makes you successful. If you're talking about the second most important decision in your life, you need good advice. You need it to be successful. You don't want to do it alone. I don't want you to do it alone. So, Proverbs 18:1 says, without help, you're not going to see the red flags. Think about that. Without help, you will not see the red flags. You know what that means? That means without people speaking into your life, you're going to have blind spots and you're going to end up divorced. You're going to end up with a 2-year-old tugging at your leg. You're going to have a small apartment that you live in. You're barely going to be able to survive. I've seen it too many times. But for you, I want something different. I want you to have an amazing marriage. So you need to ask yourself during this time, this season of your life, are you dateable? Well, first you have to know what the purpose of dating is. Dating leads to marriage. So do you see yourself married in the next 1 or 2 years? Because that's what dating leads to. If marriage is off the table, you know, I'm going to get married, but not anytime real soon. If marriage is off the table, dating should be off the table. Now, I'm not trying to make you mad. I'm not trying to make you frustrated. But you've heard the saying, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. You know, dating is a path to a promise where you're wearing that beautiful white dress and he's wearing that tux and the preacher man is there. Dating is not shopping around for a guy. Dating is not like, I'm just going to try on him and I'm going to try on him and I'm just going to try on this relationship. I'm going to try on that relationship. And I'm not interested in purchasing. I just want to see how I look in it. No. If you're going to a mall to shop for clothes, you can do that. But when you're in a relationship, you don't want to treat it that way because it's unloving. You're leading people on. You're breaking people's hearts. You can't treat hearts that way. It's selfish. So now's your time to prepare. You need to address the brokenness in your life. You need to let godly people speak into your heart. You need to know what you're looking for in a guy. You need to make wise decisions. Now's your time to make wise decisions. I want to pray for you. Father, I pray with all sincerity that Ashaya will find a godly man and that they will become a godly couple representing a faith that models to the world that Though none go with me, still I will follow. And they'll follow you, Jesus. And they say, we're going to raise children, and we're going to point those children to Jesus. And we're going to walk with Jesus. And God, I ask you right now that you will end every relationship that Shia tries to get into, that you know will lead to hurt and pain and heartache and divorce in that relationship. Protect her. Give her a relationship that honors you. And then bless that relationship. Allow it to continue and teach her how to love her man.